in the middle of a war. One wrong move and... boom! Ooh, I'm having a day.
Okay, are you getting scared because you're just babbling now?
Doctor!
Boom's whole episode hangs on one simple high-stakes mistake. The Doctor stepping on a landmine. That's it. No multiverses, no gods, no lore dumps. Just a brutally clean setup that strips away all of the noise and forces the story to rely on tension, character, and moral pressure. It's proof that Doctor Who doesn't need scale to be gripping, it just needs clarity. Boom does something no episode since Midnight has managed. It tells a story so simple that it becomes bold again, and in doing so, it finally lets us get a proper look at this new, slightly unsettling version of the Doctor. And ᴍᴏ exploded onto the scene as the 15th Doctor with everything we expect. Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and, frankly, ridiculous amounts of talent. But that didn't land smoothly for everyone. His introduction in the giggle was fast, chaotic, and then the following episodes just kept ramping up the energy. We were suddenly expected to accept this brand new Doctor without actually getting the chance to know him. And yes, as Whovians we're used to regeneration whiplash. The writing shifts, the performances shift, the whole vibe shifts. But this time it felt jarring. And ᴍᴏ clearly knew who his Doctor was. RTD clearly knew who this Doctor was supposed to be. But the audience? We were left with half an explanation and a blur of fast-paced stories. Then Boom arrived. Boom was one of the most anticipated episodes of the season. Maybe only 73 Years had more hype behind it, and yet somehow it's ended up being one of the most underrated episodes of the entire Disney era. Honestly, that's an achievement in itself. Moffat is like Marmite for Doctor Who fans. Some love him, some can't stand him, and some just shrug as long as the story eventually makes sense at some point. But with Boom, he gave us something he'd never really written for the show before. Sure, he's done slower episodes, but he's never given us 45 minutes dedicated almost entirely to developing a single Doctor, letting us sit with him, understand him, and watch him think. For me, Boom is the moment the 15th Doctor finally clicked. It's where he stopped being a whirlwind of vibes and became a character I could actually connect with. What makes Boom stand out is how un-Moffat it actually feels, in the best possible way. Instead of the usual twist-heavy, timey-wimey chaos he's known for, this script is tight, focused, and almost theatrical. It's Moffat stripped back. No narrative fireworks, no clever paradoxes, just pure storytelling discipline. The writing puts clarity and tension first. Every line matters, every beat pushes the pressure higher, instead of drowning us in complexity. It lets the emotional weight do the heavy lifting. And because it's so subtle, a lot of viewers didn't clock just how technically sharp the episode actually is. This is Moffat proving he can still reinvent himself. He doesn't need a universe-ending threat or a labyrinth of twists to make an impact. With Boom, he shows that restraint can be just as powerful as spectacle, maybe even more so. As I said earlier, Boom is the first time in ᴍᴏ actually gets the space to be the Doctor, not just perform the idea of him. The episode slows everything down and forces the spotlight onto his intelligence, his moral authority, and the emotional depth sitting underneath all that charm and energy. Because the Doctor can't move. The entire story depends on ᴍᴏ's stillness. Which, by the way, the behind the scenes looks painful as hell, so hats off to him for that. His voice, his eyes, the tiny shifts in his expression, there is literally nowhere to hide. No running, no shouting, no big set pieces to distract from the performance, and that's exactly why this episode works. The drama lives or dies on him, and he absolutely carries it. He is a star. For the first time in the Disney era, we see all the layers at once. The danger, the ancient weariness, the compassion, the sharpness, the humour, the fury. It's this moment the 15th Doctor stops sounding like he's reading off a script and settles into someone real, someone with history. One of the smartest things Boom does is hide a brutal war story inside a slick sci-fi premise. On the surface, it's about landmines and homicidal AI systems. but underneath it's tearing into automated warfare, corporate profit, and the way modern technology tries to sanitize violence. It's not subtle about it either. The episode makes it painfully clear how empty and dehumanizing clean war tech actually is. What hits hardest is how matter of fact the horror is. The machines don't care, the systems don't care, the people funding it definitely don't care, and that coldness sits in direct contrast to the Doctor's compassion, which makes the whole thing feel even more uncomfortable. This kind of thematic weight is unusual for the Disney era, which has mostly leaned into bright, energetic storytelling. Boom cuts through it all with something sharper, angrier, and far more grounded. It's Doctor Who reminding us that sci-fi isn't just about spectacle, it's also about saying something real. What makes Boom so gripping is how unforgiving the tension is. The landmine premise creates this constant, suffocating pressure where every tiny movement matters. There's no room to breathe, no space for the story to wander. The episode locks you in from the moment the Doctor freezes. The pacing of this episode is razor tight. There is no filler scenes, no sudden tonal shifts, nothing to break the momentum. Everything is designed to keep you on edge, and it works because the episode refuses to let the tension drop for even a second. As soon as you feel like everything's going to be fine, it raises again, and again, and again, and again, until eventually you feel like the Doctor's going to explode because he starts turning green. But then there's the silence, the stillness, the way the camera lingers on the Doctor's face or the ground beneath his feet. Modern Doctor Who rarely commits to that kind of restraint, but Boom leans into it completely. The danger isn't loud or explosive, it's quiet, patient, and inches away. That's what makes this so effective. One of the reasons Boom feels so instantly iconic is because it taps into the same DNA as episodes like Midnight, The Impossible Planet, and The Waters of Mars. The ones that trap the Doctor, strip away the safety nets, and force the story into pure tension and moral pressure. Is very much in that lineage, but it never feels like a repeat. The bottle episode structure does a lot of heavy lifting. By keeping the Doctor rooted to one spot, the episode builds this claustrophobic atmosphere where every character's choice matters and every conversation becomes a test. There's no escape route, no easy solution, just rising stakes and tightening walls. Metaphorically, of course. And yet Boom still feels completely its own. The themes give it a modern edge, while the focus on the 15th Doctor's emotional and moral clarity grounds it in character rather than spectacle. It honours the classics without ever relying on them too much. Part of why Boom slipped under the radar is simply timing. The season around it was loud, chaotic, and constantly grabbing attention, surprisingly. Space Babies became instant meme fuel. 73 Yards had everyone arguing for weeks over the woman. Dot and Bubble shocked people so much they forgot to breathe, and I'm included in that because wow, what an ending to that episode. Did not see that coming. And hanging over it all was the giggle, the regeneration event that dominated the conversation before the season had even got started. But in the middle of all that noise, Boom was quiet, precise, and deliberately restrained, which meant it never got the same spotlight. It didn't have the headline-grabbing twist or a viral moment, so it ended up underrated almost by default. It's the episode that did almost everything right without shouting about it, and ironically, that's exactly why so many people overlook it. Boom is a glimpse of the version of Doctor Who the Disney era could have been. Smart, tense, character-driven storytelling that doesn't rely on massive spectacle to make an impact. It balances emotional depth with sharp sci-fi commentary, proving the show can still say something meaningful without drowning it in CGI or noise. It's a reminder that Doctor Who is at its strongest when it trusts its characters, its themes, and its audience, and doesn't need to lean on heavy effects or amazing CGI to make an impact anymore. Boom shows that the series can still take risks, still push boundaries, and still deliver something powerful without needing to go big every time. It quietly sets a standard for what this era could have leaned into more often. For everything Boom gets right, it's not a perfect episode, and that's actually part of why I like talking about it so much. Some of the side characters feel a bit thin, almost like they're there to make a point or just to move the story forward, rather than exist as real people. The world building is deliberately minimal, which works for the tension, but if you're someone who likes the lore to feel a bit more fleshed out, it can come across as a bit bare. And yeah, the pacing won't land for everyone, the stillness is the whole point, but if you're used to the Disney era high energy chaos, the middle section of this episode can feel almost too static. It's a big tonal shift and not everyone was ready for that. The emotional beats are quieter too. Some fans wanted a bigger payoff or a clearer explanation, and Boom just isn't interested in giving you that at all, and I think that kinda is the point. But honestly, those flaws are part of what makes it stand out. It's an episode that takes risks even when those risks don't land perfectly. It's messy in places, bold in others, and completely different from everything around it. And in a season full of noise and heavy CGI and effects, that kind of quiet ambition is worth paying attention to.